Gordian III, born Marcus Antonius Gordianus in 225 AD, became the 33rd emperor of the Roman Empire, reigning from 238 to 244 AD. His rise to power, reign, and untimely death are significant in the context of the crisis of the 3rd century, a period marked by instability, military usurpations, and external threats. Gordian III was born to a relatively obscure family, though his lineage was later made notable due to his association with the powerful Gordian family. His father, a senator, had died when Gordian was still a child. In 238 AD, the death of Emperor Maximinus Thrax, who was unpopular due to his tyrannical rule, led to a widespread revolt across the empire. The revolt was initiated by the African legions in the Roman province of Africa, who declared Gordian IV, the elderly governor of Africa, as emperor. His son, Gordian II, joined him in a co-emperorship. However, this rebellion was short-lived. After only 22 days, both Gordians were killed in battle, leaving a power vacuum. The Senate, which had supported the Gordian family, now needed a new emperor to restore order. In the face of this crisis, they turned to young Gordian III, who was only 13 years old at the time, and declared him emperor. His youth made him more of a figurehead, with real power in the hands of the influential men around him, notably the seasoned general and praetorian prefect, Marcus Antonius Philippus, also known as Philip the Arab. Though Gordian was technically the emperor, his reign was heavily influenced by his regents. Despite his age, Gordian III was initially presented as a capable ruler. His reign was framed as a return to senatorial rule, aiming to distance the empire from the military despotism of Maximinus Thrax. The Senate, in turn, gave him strong support, and his reign saw the stabilization of the political situation in the empire. Nevertheless, Gordian's early years were dominated by military concerns which defined much of the history of the 3rd century. One of the first significant actions of his reign was the attempt to pacify the eastern provinces, particularly the region along the Persian frontier. The Sassanid Empire under King Shapur I had become a formidable threat to the Roman Empire. In 241 AD, Gordian III launched a campaign against the Sassanids to protect Roman interests and maintain imperial control over Armenia. The campaign initially seemed successful as the Romans achieved a series of victories and gained territory. However, the situation took a darker turn in 243 AD when Shapur further inflicted a significant defeat on the Roman army at the Battle of Misich. This defeat severely undermined the Roman position in the east and left Gordian III facing a deteriorating military situation. During this time, Gordian's regent and chief general Timesitheus played a crucial role in managing the empire's military and political affairs. Timesitheus was a trusted military leader who had been appointed as praetorian prefect, and under his leadership, Gordian's administration was relatively stable. However, in 243 AD, Timesitheus died unexpectedly, either due to illness or possibly poisoning. The loss of his regent created a power vacuum and left Gordian III vulnerable to influence from other military leaders. After the death of Timesitheus, Gordian III faced increasing challenges. His new praetorian prefect, Philip the Arab, took control of military strategy. Philip was an ambitious man, and some sources suggest that he may have played a role in the circumstances surrounding Gordian's death. In 244 AD, Gordian III, now 19 years old, was leading a military campaign against the Sassanids. However, the campaign was not going well, and the Roman army was in retreat. Gordian III's forces were facing internal discontent, and the situation became increasingly dire. At some point during the campaign, Gordian III was killed under suspicious circumstances. The exact cause of his death is unclear. Ancient sources vary. Some suggest that he was murdered by his own officers or soldiers, possibly on the orders of Philip the Arab, who may have seized the opportunity to advance his own political ambitions. Other accounts imply that Gordian III died in a tragic accident or from natural causes such as illness or injury. However, the most widely accepted narrative is that he was likely murdered or executed by those close to him. Philip the Arab then declared himself emperor following the death of Gordian III and took power. Gordian III's reign, though short and marred by instability, is often remembered as a time of relative peace and order in comparison to the turmoil of later years in the 3rd century. He was a young emperor who had the potential to bring stability to the empire, but was ultimately undermined by the power struggles of the military elite. Despite his youth, Gordian III is remembered favorably by some historians as a figurehead who, for a time, represented hope for a return to more traditional forms of Roman governance. His image on coins and inscriptions often portrays him as youthful and optimistic, symbolizing a break from the autocracy of his predecessor, Maximinus Thrax. However, Gordian III's reign was largely overshadowed by the military crises and the external threats that defined the broader history of the 3rd century crisis. The Sassanid threat, in particular, proved to be a major factor in the collapse of Gordian's reign. His death marked the end of the Gordian dynasty, and his successor, Philip the Arab, would go on to face new challenges that further destabilized the empire. In the broader context of Roman history, Gordian III's reign is seen as part of the transition between the early empire and the later military-dominated leadership of the 3rd century. His reign did not have lasting effects in terms of imperial reforms or military success. However, his legacy endures as one of the many young emperors of the era who faced overwhelming challenges from both within and outside the empire and ultimately met a premature and violent end. The period of Gordian III's rule is a reminder of the fragility of imperial power during a time when military leaders often had more influence than the emperors themselves. Though his reign was brief and his life cut short, Gordian III's story remains an important chapter in the tumultuous history of the Roman Empire.